With the set mode on the Memory Craft 1000, you can go ahead and tailor the machine for the way you like to sew or embroider. I'm going to touch the gear down here to open up our set mode. And there's 3 areas of the set mode. Things that are common between your sewing machine and your embroidery machine, things for just the sewing side of your machine, and things for just the embroidery side. And then of course down here we have the language, so you can change the language of your machine. So under the sewing machine one here, that's just the common settings, we have the sounds of the buzzer, screen brightness, whether you want to be in inches or millimeter. I'd like to be in inches. If I wanted to turn my sewing light on and off. There's a little message that comes up and you can turn it on and off whether you want to see this one about cleaning your bobbin area. I think it's a great idea to leave that on as a nice message. You can calibrate your screen. The standby timer is how long before your machine goes to sleep. So I have it turned off right now so mine won't go to sleep while I'm working, but I could turn it on, turn it back on, and it will go off into a sleep mode. The background color of my screen, I have 4 choices to change that. I can use this to format a USB stick if I need to, and I can reset everything back to defaults. I'm going to move on to the lower section here with our sewing side. We can decide if we want a thread cut after auto lock. Now what that means is if I turn it on, anytime I select the auto lock, which is on the front of my machine, it will trim my thread for me. And sometimes it's programmed into a stitch and it will automatically do it if this is turned on. Sometimes I don't want that to happen. So I like to keep that off. Your needle stop position is set default to be down when you stop sewing. If that's not your preference, you can go ahead and have it stop in the up position. Paging over again, upper thread breakage sensor, I have it turned on. So if I should run out of thread on the top or break a thread, there will be a little message that will come up on the screen to tell me I have a thread break. The next one is bobbin thread remaining sensor, and I have it turned on. So it will let me know when my bobbin thread gets low and remind me that I need to put in a bobbin. If you want to sew out a complete bobbin, you can always turn it off and then put it back on for your next bobbin. Your adjustable speed startup for both your start stop and your foot pedal, the default is in the center here. So if you'd like to start up faster with your start stop button, you can move it on up to the top here to 5. And if you'd like your foot control to be more sensitive and start up faster, you can put that up high as well. Let's page over again. We have 2 more pages. There's another thing here that gives you a message about confirming deleted combinations. So if you're working and you go to delete something, it's going to remind you, do you want to delete that? And I think it's a good idea to have it on, but some people might not, and you could change that right here. This is the variable zigzag sensitivity, and we'll talk about that a little more when we go over the variable zigzag on this machine and how to set that. Your feed dogs are always in the up position, and you can change them right on the screen of the machine to lower them. But if for some reason you want them lowered for a much longer time, maybe some projects you're working on over many, many days and you're going to be free motioning or something, you can have them lowered that whole time and they won't come back up. The resume mode, this is really important and should be on. What this does is when I finish sewing for the day or anytime I turn my machine off, when I turn it back on, it will give me a little message asking if I want to resume to the previous stitch. When I do that, it'll come back to right where I was before. Very handy for those times when you turn your machine off unexpectedly or you turn it off to go up to bed and come back in the morning. It will have all your settings saved for you. Going on, because this is the 5th page, we're going to go into the embroidery side. Over here, we have 1 stitch stop. I have it off at the moment, and what 1 stitch stop is when you have it on is your machine will move to the first stitch and cycle the needle down and back up, and you can pull on the thread and bring up your bobbin thread to the front. A lot of people use this when they're quilting in the hoop, Or if you're doing embroidery that's going to show on the back side, you want to make sure you have all neat edges on there, so you would be pulling up your ends using one stitch stop. Your maximum speed setting on your embroidery side, we can move that up to the maximum, which is 660 stitches per minute, and then we can adjust it when we're actually at our design by moving the slider here. Upper thread breakage sensor, that's turned on. Again, much like on the sewing side, if my thread should break on the top, I think I want to know right away about that. Bobbin thread remaining sensor, I do want mine on because I want it to let me know it doesn't have enough thread for that section. I would hate to run out in the middle of something, though it's easy to back up and restart your machine, but it's nice to have that message. On page 3, we have consecutive color grouping, and I actually like to have that turned off. So consecutive color grouping, what that does is if you have a design that has a couple colors in a row that are very similar, maybe some like a pale tan and a very light brown, something like that, it may combine those colors if it thinks they're one color. So I like to leave it off and not join those colors. Your hoop calibration is here. Your thread cutting, you can make some changes to your thread cutting, so I leave that on, and your jump thread length can be changed here as well. So you can tailor that to the things that you like on your machine. On our page 5 here, more on thread cutting and if the thread cutting command is on or off. I have it in the off position. It's still going to cut because the designs are programmed that way, but if I turned it on, it would cut in a lot of places. Over here, this is our color selection of threads, and I like to choose retain original color. And typically why I like that is when I choose a design from a designer and they use a particular thread for their design, a particular brand, when I choose retain original color, in my color order it will show me those color numbers and the name of those threads. So I can easily choose them if I use that brand, or maybe I can color match them. So I like retain original color. There's more thread selections here, so we have 2 pages of those. Here we have locking stitch after each color change. Those are built into some of our designs, but if you want to increase that, you can turn it on, and then you can have it on just after thread trimming. I have it on just after thread trimming. Your grid lines on your grid on the edit screen, you can turn those on and off, and you can change the size of those. Your hoop confirmation, this is an important one to turn on because this is the note that comes up when you pick your embroidery design and you select OK, a little message comes up here and it tells you what hoop you should be using. It's a little reminder that you should make sure you double check that you're putting the correct hoop on your machine. We have a design positioning during embroidery. This is a little tool in the tools of your main screen for embroidery where you can sort of what I like to call tweak that design. You might need to move it just slightly. So I like to have it off at the moment. You can turn it on and make those very finite changes if you like. Again, this is everybody's preference. Confirm thread tension dial. What that is you'll get a little message and it'll say set your thread tension dial at 3, and it means over here where your thread tension is, you would move this dial over here to 3. I like that turned on as a last reminder that I need to do that. It sets your tension perfectly. Resume mode, we have that on our sewing side. Of course I want it on my embroidery side. That way, again, if I turn my machine off and go up to bed and I come back down and I want to stitch that same design, it's ready to go. And then we're back to the beginning of that. And of course, there's the language. So I've made changes. I want to make sure I select OK, and that will save all those changes I made and bring me back to wherever I was last. If I want to go back to my utility stitches and start there today, I can touch there. This is one of those little messages that comes up telling me that The pattern combination I have will be deleted unless I save it, and I'm okay with that. And I'm right back to utility stitches. And that's how to set the preferences on your Memory Craft 1000.